Hello everyone, and welcome to a new edition of Jefferson College Today. I'm Public Relations and Marketing Director Roger Barrentine, bringing you the latest news and information about your community college with locations in Hillsborough, Arnold, Imperial, and online. In today's show, we're exploring the new stargazing observatory being jointly developed between Jefferson College and the St. Louis Astronomical Society, also known as SLAS, in phases on the Hillsborough campus. The observatory's purpose is to engage the community to learn more about the science of astronomy and physics. It will become the first public observatory here in Jefferson County affiliated with SLAS. Now, regular stargazing and solar viewing events for the public will be held, and educators and students of K through 12 schools will be encouraged to make use of the observatory for educational projects. The observatory will be developed in phases over several years as funding is secured. And long-term plans include 3 observatory buildings to house permanently mounted telescopes and provide storage for portable astronomy equipment accessories. As well, a patio viewing area with electrical hookups for the public and amateur astronomers to bring their own telescopes, and a wall to protect the viewing area from vehicle headlights of those that are visiting the site. The location makes use of paved parking that already exists next to the site. Both Jefferson College and the St. Louis Astronomical Society will partner to raise funds to develop the site. And observatory project funds will be raised from public donations, grants, and corporate sponsors. And project rollout will be determined by available funding for each phase. During each stage of the project will be functional on its own, making the observatory useful from the outset. Although the Jefferson College Observatory will be free to all visitors, donations of all amounts are needed to enable construction and site maintenance. Anyone interested in supporting the observatory can make a tax-deductible donation through the Jefferson College Foundation. And there are a variety of ways to make an impact with a donation of any amount. Contributions can be made by going to the Jefferson College Observatory website at www.jeffco.edu/observatory. Again, that's www.jeffco.edu/observatory. Well, with that background, stay tuned now as I visit with Physics and Engineering Assistant Professor Dr. Bob Brazzle, co-chair of the Observatory Task Force, as Jefferson College Today continues. Hello, Bob. Thanks for joining me. Welcome to Jefferson College Today.
Thank you. Thanks.
Well, with the eclipse and several other recent stargazing events, it seems like public awareness regarding these types of activities has just exploded all across the country. So how did the idea then of an observatory here at Jefferson College, how did that idea originate?
Well, it actually goes back a ways. So I actually love all the sciences. And so of all the sciences, all the fields of science, the one that astronomy is unique in the sense that more than any other science, there's an outsized contribution from amateurs. And so it's because there's a lot of sky and there's not many real big telescopes. And so amateurs can actually contribute. And I always feel like, you know, you can gain that love for science when you're actually participating and making real contributions. So as I realized an eclipse was coming, it's like, well, it'd be neat if we had an observatory to, you know, to greet it. So I started making some noise about it several years ago. It wasn't the right time, but now I think you're right. I think that it's catching fire on our campus too. So now I think we're getting behind it as well.
So with this idea being in its infancy, tell us a little bit about when it is complete, when it's completely constructed, what will the complex consist of in terms of facilities, and really what will it look like?
Right, so it's a little bit contingent on, you know, we want to keep seeing that it's popular and that people come to the events, and so assuming that keeps happening, then when all is said and done, we're hoping to have 3 buildings. We'll have 2 buildings with slide-off roofs, and each will house a different kind of telescope. The first one that's going to go up, though, is going to be a dome, you know, old-fashioned observatory dome, and we expect that to start going up in this spring. And so in between those 3, connecting them will be a big patio area with electrical hookups. And then finally there'll be a wall that that sort of separates the site from the parking lot. And so that way when cars turn on their lights, we're not blinded by their lights, and so it's nice blocking of it. But that's the idea, then the electrical hookups for people that can bring their own telescopes.
So where here on the Hillsborough campus, where will it be located? And specifically, what makes a site like this, the fact that it's kind of away from the city, what makes it so appealing to astronomers and those who like this kind of science?
Well, one thing we have that's really great, a real good commodity here on campus, is we have a dark sky. And obviously where there's campus lights, it's not dark sky, it's light, but in that particular place right by the softball field, there's beautiful trees and they block the campus lights, and so you're sort of in this little gully where it's pretty dark. You can actually see the band of the Milky Way, which is sort of the way I always think, wow, I'm really out in the dark when I can see the Milky Way.
So for those who maybe live in the St. Louis area,
right.
I would assume what you're saying here is, being in the city, you get all that light contamination from
right.
just the mere fact that you're next to a major metropolitan city.
Right.
And by coming further south, you get away from that, and that's what makes this site very appealing.
Up in the city, you might only see a dozen stars, you know, depending on the, you know, if it's cloudy, if it's non-cloudy, you still might only see a dozen stars. But down here, because the sky is dark, then even dimmer stars are visible, and so you can see many more stars.
With that, when or will the project be built all at once, or will you kind of do it gradually? And then as well, where specifically will the money come from to do those parts of the project?
Right, so like I said, we're sort of, you know, hoping that we can advance with seeing that the, you know, sort of proof of concept that it's popular, people come to the events. So right now, yeah, so we'll be building it in phases. And this first phase, the funding came from a competitive bidding process here on campus we call the Capital Improvement Project. And so, so I requested last year a modest amount, $38,000 to start with. And so with that, we're going to be able to install the infrastructure for that dome that I talked about. And so then next year we're hoping to get a little more money for a patio. But then we're really hoping that the community can start, hey, this is really interesting, therefore it's valuable, and that we can start getting some funding by fundraising. Also, if we're you know, hopefully that we can get some kinds of grant money from various professional organizations and stuff like that. NASA maybe is one place we can look for grant funding.
Yeah. And so again, it's not necessarily all going to be built at once. Right. Does that jeopardize the project anyway in terms of having part 1 and then part 2 and then part 3, or will each of those parts be operational and unique in and of themselves?
Yeah, it's already operational, because we just, in fact, just a few nights ago, we had an event down there, and so we don't have any platforms but we have the dark sky was there, and it was a beautiful night, and a lot of people came.
Very nice.
So yeah, it was very nice. So, but yeah, I think that to answer your question, it's I think it's sort of a self-amplifying process that, you know, it's a little harder maybe to ask somebody, hey, we want a donation for this thing. Well, what thing? We don't have anything. You know, so after we get the first phase, now we can say, oh yeah, now we have the dome, and you can see that as an observatory, you can see where it's going to be, thanks to some of the products that you put out, that we can actually see the what's the final product going to look like. So I think that should help people, you know, help encourage people to donate.
And as you mentioned earlier, what I think sounds to me one of the unique aspects of this is that regardless of whether you're well immersed in this and you have all kinds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment,
right.
or if you're just a person at home that doesn't have any equipment whatsoever,
right.
you can still come out to these events, and you'll be able to use equipment from the college, use
yep.
equipment from the St. Louis Astronomical Society, and so it kind of marries, I think, kind of both of those, both yep. amateur astronomers, folks like myself who just want to learn more, maybe have families, as well as those who kind of know their stuff, if you will, mm-hmm. and are able to teach those who come out, right?
Right, absolutely, right. And of course there's levels of amateurs, because none of us are professional astronomers either. You know, so we're all
learning.
We're all learning, right? Exactly. But excuse me, yeah. To answer your question, that people can come out with their own equipment if they want. We'll have the electrical hookups at some point, A good telescope is motorized so that it tracks the sky, so that you don't have to keep adjusting as the star is moving across the sky. So we'll have the electrical hookups for people. On the other hand, we'll have our own telescopes that people can come and just take a look without bringing anything. But I always kind of imagine somebody's thinking, I think I'm going to get my grandson a telescope for Christmas. What should I get? They could come to one of our events. There's going to be experts there. And that's, I think, the best thing is that we don't just have equipment there. We also are going to have experts there, that people that can actually answer questions of people. Or I get this telescope, I never figured out how to use it.
That's right.
Bring it and
That's
we can,
where I would be.
Yeah,
I'd have
right.
to dig it out of the attic or somewhere.
I did give my cousin this, and now I need to figure out how to use it. We can help.
Bob, how unique will this be in terms of something that Jefferson County has never seen before?
In Jefferson County, as far as we know, as far as I know, there are no other research grade telescopes in the entire county. Now, I believe there's one that's, I think it's on the roof of, say, Seckman High School, I think. Unfortunately, they don't use it because, I think from what I've heard, because of accessibility issues. So that's one thing we're going to be sure of, that, since ours is sitting on the ground, we want to make sure that it's wheelchair accessible and things like that. So we will take care of that.
Certainly the first that's affiliated with the St. Louis Astronomical Society?
Yes, it's their first. That's exactly right. And they've been around for many decades, but now they finally have a home too. So it's a really nice partnership between our organizations.
Talk, if you will, in terms of that partnership and the fact that this is an educational effort. Talk about it between how it's both a teaching tool, but also on behalf of the college an outreach tool as well. They're kind of immersed in each other.
Right, that's right. I agree with that. So, yeah, let's see. So, excuse me. As far as education is concerned, we know that that when a student, actually participates in the actual doing of science, is what they call best practice. So for our own students, we'll have that ability that some of them could actually do research. Those students then, when they try to matriculate to a different college, four-year university, they could have that on their resume, that research. And it sort of doesn't matter what the research is. Hey, I stand out from my peers because of that. So that's one aspect of it. Then there's the aspect of our existing classes. And we have a big astronomy class. We have a big physical science course, and that has an astronomy unit in it. So all of those students will be able to actually come down and look at the stars and see, appreciate them. So that would be sort of what are the various educational aspects. But then as far as outreach is concerned, hey, the same thing can happen for, let's say, a scouting group. Maybe there's a badge that the kids want to get, so they know they can get it here. Or maybe a middle school teacher, wants to do a science fair project for Mastodon Fair or something like that. Hey, they can do an astronomical research on our telescope if they, if it turns out that that's a valuable thing.
So it's pretty wide-reaching. I mean,
Could
really,
be wide-reaching.
all ages,
Absolutely.
all interests, all kinds of backgrounds.
And I really think it's a pipeline program that will get younger students to Jefferson College campus, and that's what starts them thinking about, hey, maybe I can go here someday.
Yeah. For a final thought this afternoon before our time is up, how can people learn more about this exciting project? Where can they go to learn about star parties or presentations at area libraries, or just where the site is located, some of the things we've talked about today?
So the big thing is they can go to it's jeffco.edu/observatory, and that can be sort of the portal to other things. We will be posting things on Facebook, events. Hopefully there'll be events on Facebook that people can then see when things are happening, and we actually have some flyers. Of course, your department put them out with all the dates of it for this year. So we have a flyer. People will be hopefully seeing those, and that's on our website as well.
And then they can have the opportunity to donate.
Absolutely.
To the project
Yep,
as
that's
well.
on there as well. Yeah, that's right. So,
very good.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate your time
Okay,
today.
very
Thank you so much for stopping by. I know you're a busy guy,
Yeah.
but very exciting nonetheless.
Thank you very
Bob.
much.
Well, that will do it for this edition of Jefferson College Today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time here at Jefferson College Today.